So, I'm a little bit late on this one, but I finally finished watching Invincible Season 2, the final 4 episodes after the show decided to take that ridiculously long mid-season break. For some reason. And that was after the show took a 4-year break for also some undescribed reason. Apparently because animation's too hard. I guess that's pretty much what they said, and I believe it was episode 3. So Invincible Season 2. I already did a review for the first 4 episodes, so I'm not going to really go too much into those. I'm really just going to talk about the second half of the season. But if you want a short summarization of what I said about that first half, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it started out pretty fast, slowed down a little bit in the middle, but that final episode was absolutely masterful, where it brought back Omni-Man, and you really had this big fight with Mark, his father, and these 2 other bad dudes that come from that same kind of species that Mark and his father are from, and it was just awesome. Now, the second half of the show, I didn't love it as much. Let me get into it. There are some really good stuff in the second half, some really great things, but there are also some things that I just did not enjoy, particularly the first episode. Now, this first episode had a lot on its shoulders, because it's building off of an incredible cliffhanger and an incredible mid-season finale that came right before it. This episode would have been completely acceptable and fine if it had come out 1 week after that mid-season finale. Unfortunately, it came out, 4 months after? Therefore, my excitement for this follow-up was just not there, and I was kind of looking for something more in this opening episode. I found the opening to be slow. I found the first episode to just not really delve into a lot of the different things with its characters and with its world that I really kind of wanted to see, especially after the final few episodes built up to that big mid-season finale, and I just kind of wanted to have more of that. And, of course, this was rebuilding up to something, so the first episode was not going to have that. It was going to be a slowdown. This felt like episode 1 of a new season, not episode 5 of a mid-season. But it does eventually pick up. In episode 2, you get a big battle with all the different Guardians and some weird alien species. It's a great battle. The animation's awesome. The violence is there. It is everything you love from Invincible. Is it the big world-building stuff with the main storyline that I really want to see? No, not really, but it's definitely entertaining. It shows, yet again, that even when Invincible's doing these side superhero stories, it's still great, and the team core of characters, even the characters that don't really get a big spotlight as main characters on the show, like many of this team of heroes, like Immortal and some of the other people, they are really strong characters that you actually want to have more time investment in. I would love to see, like, spin-offs with some of these characters because they are so great. And how Mark actually intertwines with them and how he's handling this aspect of being essentially what his father was, which is the world's strongest hero. He's just kind of the best of them, and he just has to sort of balance his relationship with them, balance his relationship with his family, now his brother, and also with his girlfriend. Now, the second half of the show does really pick up in those final 2 episodes. You get really cool stuff with seeing where Mark's father actually is, Mark being confronted with people from his own species and having a big fight, and awesome stuff that happens in episode 3. You get really big moments within his relationship, and the show actually deals with that aspect better than I think most superhero stuff actually deal with it. This idea of how do you actually balance a relationship with another human being, with another person, that you're trying to date, that you're trying to be with, when you are the world's most important hero. Whenever there's something that goes wrong in the world, you have to be there, and unfortunately, in this world, things are always going bad. This world is a piece of shit. Like that. I would not want to live in the world of Invincible. There are just terrible things happening all the time, so this dude cannot live a life. And there's a great scene somewhere later in the show where his mom is confronting him, Mark's mom, and she goes, you have to go back to school, you have to do it. And he's just like, why? Why do I have to do any of this? And there's other layers to the conversation that I don't want to get into because of spoilers, but that base conversation is something that not a lot of superhero shows get into, or superhero stories, especially in the movies. And it's weird that we have a world that we have so many comic book movies and so many comic book things, and you don't really get to have these conversations with these characters very often. This conversation of, I am this super powerful dude. Why should I even bother having a regular life, especially when I know what my future is? In this world, I'm gonna live hundreds of years. Like, why do I even bother? I can't balance a relationship. There's no point to me even going to school. Like, why should I do any of it? And that is such a brilliant conversation to have. That was a great moment. I won't get into why that moment is actually even deeper than that, because I don't want to spoil anything, but still. This show really deals with the aspect, though, of how do you actually balance a relationship when you're really just putting that person in more danger, and that person is gonna live a terrible life because she's never gonna be with you, because you're off being a superhero, doing crazy shit, being Batman or whatever, like we all, us men would all love to be. But they'll never see you, and they're also in danger, because, if anybody finds out who you are, that you're dating them, well, you're kind of fucked, and this show kind of outlines that as well. The last episode of the show absolutely loses its mind. It is Invincible in the Multiverse of Madness. It is Invincible No Way Home. It is what you would expect from a big multiversal thing, and the show teased in the first episode this idea of a multiverse, and it just kind of teared away from that for pretty much the entire runtime of the season until the finale. It finally pays off sort of the promise of that, and it does it in such a great way. It does it in a way that does not overshadow the rest of the story here, the rest of the show. It does not become the show. The show does not become Invincible. This is the multiverse that we have to protect. We have to go through all these different universes. It never becomes what the MCU currently is, or what a lot of other things try to be. It instead is just kind of like a villain of the week episode, but done in such a way that makes it feel grand and worthy of a season finale. And the multiverse stuff in this episode is great. The references, the big moments, a lot of it was done super, super well. This stuff is always fun whenever it's pulled off in TV shows, movies, comic book stuff. It is always, always fun. This pulled out some nostalgia beats, and it also just did a lot of really interesting stuff that was fun, entertaining, and super cool to see. This was a great, great episode. What a great villain. I love the villain here. I love the moral aspect of why he's actually going after Mark and what it means to him, and sort of this idea that he's experiencing all these terrible things in the multiverse at the same time. His mind has just been kind of expanded. He's sort of like Eren from Attack on Titan, just seeing everything at once, like freaking Paul Atreides and Dune. His mind is open, and when you experience all of that at the same time, there's no way you could really be morally sound, because you're seeing the good, the bad, the great, the terrible, and that's what he's experiencing on a multiversal level. So you understand his feud and his hatred for Mark, who's not experiencing that. And although our Mark is a decent guy, he's just a decent dude trying to be good, of course in other universes he's not a very good dude. So it makes the conflict, it actually makes sense, and the family aspect and how Mark's mom and his brother kind of get involved in this fight makes a lot of sense. I think the actual animation of the fight was cool, and then without spoiling it, how it all kind of concludes is a big moment and has a bbig conversation about stuff that superheroes do all the time. Some of them don't. Zack Snyder. Shouldn't, at least. You dumb fuck. I'm sorry, Zack. I like Zack Snyder. But he was wrong on this certain aspect that I won't spoil. But it has this conversation about what it means to be a hero and what it means to morally be a hero and your responsibility within fights and within protecting people and also protecting the people that you're fighting. And it's a big thing that I thought was emotionally done superbly, pulled at my heartstrings. I thought this episode, beat for beat, was amazing. It was a great finale. Although it just kind of ends. It ends in a very weird spot. This didn't feel like a season finale with the end of it. I felt like there was supposed to be another episode because it just kind of ends on, not a big cliffhanger, but just kind of like a weird cliffhanger. It just ends, promises that the next season's going to be great. But when is it going to be? I know Robert Kirkman has said that we're going to be seeing it sooner than the gap that between season 1 and season 2. I've heard maybe a year, that they're aiming to have a new season every year from this point. But yet again, who knows? They can make these promises. George R.R. Martin said that, Game of Thrones, the newest book, would be out 10 years ago. We're still waiting. So until we actually have a trailer and we know it's coming and we know it's almost done, their promises really mean nothing. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't take 4 years. This show is excellent. I haven't read the comic, all of it at least. I've read some of it, but I've heard it's amazing. So maybe go get that if you guys are afraid this is going to take way too long. But Invincible is easily the best animated superhero TV show I think we've ever gotten. Maybe the best animated superhero thing ever. Besides Spider-Verse, of course. Come on. It would be a shame if this thing just took 4 years for every single season. I would love to see season 3 as soon as possible. I'd love to see season 4, 5, 6, however many it takes to finish the story. I'd love to see that live action that they're working on. This world is so cool. It's brutal. It's terrible. It's like The Boys, but like an actual superhero story, not just kind of like a satirical superhero story talking about how our economy and how capitalism kind of uses superheroes and violence and all that stuff to generate money. Like, that's pretty much what The Boys is. This is like a legitimate superhero story that's dissecting the idea of superheroes in a very gruesome, R-rated manner, in a very human manner, but also is very, very different than anything like the MCU or DC. So we need more of it. I love it. Robert Kirkman's great. This season, I thought, as a whole, as a package, was really great. Besides the 4-month mid-season break and the opening mid-season episode that I didn't love too much, this episode, I think, lived up to the hype of what Season 2 should have been. I will give Season 2 of Invincible a 4.5 out of 5. That half point, it comes off because of that 4-month gap, pretty much. That was just why. Maybe the episodes weren't done, but if they weren't done, I would have rather them just wait 4 months to release the first 4 episodes and then release the whole 8 episodes when they were all finished. Been smarter. I don't get it, but whatever. It's out. It's great. Go watch it. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you thought of Invincible Season 2 down below. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications. I will see you guys in the next video.